All right, welcome back in. Sports Radio 950 KJR, Ian Furness with you on a Tuesday afternoon. It's kind of gloomy up here in Seattle, which I guess would reflect the mood everywhere except for if you're Pat Mahomes in Kansas City, where you're now a $500 million guy. Hey, John Lund joining us as he does every week. Brought to you by, look, I brought product, Cascade Ice. There's both versions.
I like it.
This is the one that doesn't have caffeine. This is the one that does have caffeine.
Yeah, the ones that don't have caffeine, throw those away.
Okay, just toss that.
And by the way, I've spoken with Todd, and I know which ones now mix best with vodka and other products. We've had a discussion about it, so I'm set. I want the caffeine, and I want the ones that mix well with booze. I mean, it's airport rules, as we've talked about before.
It's all about airport rules. Well, the Cascade Ice Pink Grapefruit Organic Caffeine, 160 milligrams, and of course this one, Cascade Ice 0 Calories Lemonade, natural lemon flavored sparkling water, 0 calories, no gluten. Both available in your local grocery stores. And I'm holding these up like people are watching us. Like this is on Zoom. I think Kevin posts videos, so hopefully. Yeah, he'll post some of that video. The worst thing is we were getting set up today. We'll take people behind the scenes as we're getting set up to do this. My Wi-Fi went out. That was awesome, as my wife's working at home as well. But two, as then Kevin's like pointing to a phone number that, you can maybe call in via the phone if need be. And I had to do one of these. I'll do this on Zoom too. Put the glasses on and get up close. And that was the reaction I got from my good friend John Lund of 20-plus years. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. I'm old, man.
And the young demographic that's listening is laughing. It just happens in one day. All of a sudden, you can see fine. The next day, you've got your iPhone flashlight in a restaurant, it's shining it on the menu that you cannot read, and it's completely embarrassing. And you got your glasses, and you're an inch away from the menu, and you have the flashlight on, and you still can't read it. And everyone's looking at you, and young people are snickering. It will happen to you too. And it happens overnight.
It's inevitable. Yeah. So don't laugh at old guys like us. Nothing like a mask and a flashlight to read a menu in a restaurant these days.
Unbelievable. By the way, here's the next great product, right? As people have made money through the pandemic, I know a lot of people have lost money, but people who are coming up with ingenious products, can they come up with something so my glasses don't fog? Because when I put the glasses on, because I'm old now, then I put my mask on and I'm in the grocery store.
Right.
I'm constantly taking them off and putting them on because I'm trying to read a label that I can't read. So I got to put on a pair of glasses. But then if I put on the glasses, then they fog up. What am I supposed to do?
Well, I think now age and kids sports have taken me away from doing what I used to love to ski. I was a big avid skier, and I remember right there was the anti-fog cloths for your goggles back in the day. So maybe you have to go find those things.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it is what we are.
I mean,
big thanks to Cascade Ice. You can find it in local grocery stores. Cascade Ice, absolutely fantastic product. Big thanks to them. More on them later. As we continue. All right, let's start. There's a bunch of things going on in the NFL. Let's just start with yesterday's news. I don't know what because Garoppolo signed a huge contract a couple years ago. Russell did as well. Mm-hmm. But this Mahomes deal, which Ian Rappaport later corrected the earlier ESPN reports, it wasn't for $450 million. No. $500 million. But, John, the thing that cracked me up about it was it's a 10-year deal. I mean, there's been a handful of 10-year deals with quarterbacks over the years in the NFL, but is this guy the lowest risk 10-year deal ever? Is that why it's a good deal?
He's 24 years old, and if you look at the list, and it's hard to do this, but if you look at the list of guys who are paid like this, Mike Trout at $426 million and Bryce Harper at $330 million and all those kind of things, to me, he's 24 years old. He's got the star quality. See, unlike Mike Trout, who is a star on the baseball field,
right? If
Mike Trout didn't play this year in baseball, we'd hardly notice. The Angels have the fourth lowest local TV ratings. He's been in the postseason once. He's 3 for 15. People on the East Coast, if he's digging in for his first at bat, they're going to bed. Mike Trout's not a superstar. Patrick Mahomes is a superstar. He's a good-looking guy. He's crazy good. He's fun to watch. The thing I was discussing about this is he the type of guy who can transcend so much that you don't hate him? That's when you know he's a superstar, because most stars, you don't like them. Like let's be honest, here in San Francisco, people don't like Russell Wilson. There's not a whole lot not to like. But because he's a rival of their team, they don't like him. So, but Patrick Mahomes, this is how it was with Jordan. You remember this. You were at these games. Michael Jordan would be ripping your team's heart out. And you would look around and people would be cheering, like when we were in Utah. You have a Karl Malone jersey on. He just ripped your heart out. And they just can't help it. Their natural inclination is to jump out of their seat and cheer for this guy. Mahomes is that way. Like, Niner fans don't like him up down here because he just beat him in the Super Bowl. But generally speaking, if you're not in the AFC West, Patrick Mahomes is hard to hate. That's a star. And that's why he's getting this money. He's the best quarterback in the game at 24, but he is an outright superstar for TV ratings, for ticket sales, for merchandise sales. The Chiefs will make this money back.
It's interesting with that. Yeah, well, the it factor, but you kind of crossed into something way different because everyone, the athletes that have the it factor, that's one thing. But the it factor, and then still the likable factor. And I was just trying to think back as you're saying that, I remember a Sonic coach way back when. It might have been Casey Jones before George, maybe Bernie. But when Jordan's star was first rising, and I remember the line, I'll never forget this. As old as I am, there's certain things you remember, but I remember it was true. He said, Michael Jordan never plays a road game. He never plays a road game. And so, think about that athlete. Like, how many of those guys in team sports have there been? And as you're saying through that, okay, you have the it factor, but then the likability. Okay, so I don't know how likable Michael was, but he did have fans everywhere. Mahomes has a likability factor. The NFL doesn't really have those guys. I mean, everyone hates Tom Brady unless you're in New England, right? I mean, you just don't like Tom Brady. He cheats, they cheat. They win and they cheat. Well, that's a daily double.
To that level, by the way, Mahomes, they just won. Think about when the Red Sox first won. Everybody, what was that, 13 or 7, whatever they had, when they came back 3-0 against the Yankees. I mixed the years up, and I'm getting old too, but. The reality, everyone was fine with it. Oh, the Red Sox finally won. And then it got old. The Patriots, the reason people hated Brady, there's a lot of reasons. You just mentioned it about the cheating and all the things. But after a while, it gets old. Kansas City, they return 20 of 22 starters next year. It could get old to watch Patrick Mahomes lift the trophy every single year. So I'm not saying eventually you couldn't get fatigue on Patrick Mahomes like we have in a lot of guys. But as we sit here right now, he's a heck of a bet. If you're going to give a guy 10 years, I don't know how many guys – let's just look at the NFL for a minute. There's not another guy that comes to mind because running backs have a short shelf life.
Right.
Anybody that's in the trenches, you're not giving a 10-year deal. Upcoming quarterbacks, look, I like Deshaun Watson. He's nice. He's not getting 10 years. There's no way. This is an outlier. If Dak Prescott comes to the Cowboys and says, well, I just saw what he got. For years, you just mentioned Garoppolo. For years, it was like the next quarterback always leapfrogged the previous quarterback. Well, that's not happening here. You're not getting 10 years. You're not getting $50 million. You don't have the it. You don't have the arm. His first 2 years in the league, he accomplished everything you could accomplish in the league. He won the MVP, and then the next year he won the Super Bowl. There's nothing else to accomplish in this game. He's 24.
But that likability factor, though, too, if he's not playing for your team and not playing against your team, maybe you like. I was just thinking the only guy that comes to mind in a team sport that would maybe fit that bill over the last. I mean, Jordan, perhaps. Too many people don't like LeBron. You go through, but he's Gretzky-like in a sense. When Wayne Gretzky played,
good comp.
Everybody wanted to see Wayne.
Look at you going NHL. Look at you trying to educate the people of Seattle.
But find a guy that was. I mean, he was likable. You liked Wayne. Even after he married the Hollywood starlet, but you still okay, you're kind of jealous. Screw you. That. Don't you have enough going for you right now? But then you have to marry her. No, but I mean, Gretzky had a likability. You couldn't not like Gretzky. He didn't do anything on the ice to piss you off besides scoring goals, and he transcended the sport. He carried the sport. They bring him to L.A., and he's still likable. No one's likable in L.A. You don't like L.A. Nobody likes L.A., but he goes to L.A., he's likable. Mahomes, Kansas City could have that. The Red Sox was an interesting one just as a team. You know what I think turned people off? I don't know about you guys down in the Bay Area, but for us, it was the fan base. It's the lovable.
They got arrogant.
All of a sudden you go to a game and it's everyone, the girl from Kent, Washington wearing the pink Veritech jersey, and it's I'm a huge Red Sox fan. You ever been there? No, but I'm huge. I mean, shut up, go away. They became unlikable because of their fan base. But
and they could too. Kansas City could too, because I know there's a rivalry, kind of a loudness rivalry with the Seahawks and the Chiefs, and they go back and forth and all those kind of things. I was down at the Super Bowl last year, and the biggest thing that people would say is, look, nothing against the 49ers. It's just Kansas City hasn't won it in so long that I'd like to see them win it. And that's fine. But this team is not going away anytime soon. If you combo up Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes and the kind of talent they have, then they're not going away for, in the not too distant future. And they could win so many that you start going the Patriots fatigue kind of a thing. The one thing, though, and you know this in Seattle, that could happen, and it could happen quickly. Chris Jones isn't going to – the defensive tackle, he's wonderful. And he, honestly, other than Mahomes, was the second best player in the Super Bowl last year, knocking down passes and so forth. He's really good. Can you sign Chris Jones now? Because you put a franchise tender on that he hasn't signed. So is it going to be like what happened with the Seahawks? Russ is a third-round pick, and you got everybody, right? And it's such a bonus to have that going on. And I'm not saying this is a reason why you don't sign Mahomes. It's just a cost of business. Now, can you sign Chris Jones? Can you sign all these guys? Now, Mahomes is so good that it's like Manning in his heyday and Brady in his heyday. You don't have to get him a bunch of guys around him. Now they have Tyreek Hill and they have Travis Kelce and all these different guys. But those guys are going to go away because you can't re-sign everybody. So is Chris Jones going to go away all of a sudden? And now they're going to have to outscore everybody, which they can score 40, 50. But that's what starts happening, as you well know there. You start giving your quarterback money, he's going to get 45, 50. Russ is getting, 35.
Right.
You can't keep everybody around. So is your player good enough to then carry your team? Well, Patrick Mahomes is. Jared Goff isn't. When you give Jared Goff $30 million, the Rams go, now you give, what a sound effect. So then you awesome. Give Mahomes that money, you're fine. But you give Goff that money, or I think Dak Prescott that money, or some Kirk Cousins that money, somebody who's good, not great, but the position demands it, that's where you get in trouble.
Well, I think you have to pay the guy based on what he has done and what he could potentially do. It's a twofold thing. John Lund, by the way, joining me, brought to you by Cascade Ice. I think that, and when I say twofold, it's, you have to, when Russ got paid the first time, not this last one, but he got paid the first time after his rookie deal. It was after back-to-back, three straight playoff appearances and 2 straight Super Bowls, including a win. Mahomes now, in his second year, wins a Super Bowl. So they've won. Goff got paid. Dak hasn't done anything in the playoffs. He's won 1 playoff game, missed it the other years, right? And so, and Goff, we've all seen, can't carry a football team, as smart as his head coach may be. You're right. All those things come into play. The only thing with Kansas City that's different than Seattle is that he's got they exercised his option and then they extended him. So the extension doesn't kick in for 2 more years. They've already paid guys. They paid Frank. They want to have to pay Chris Jones, Kelce. Those guys are going to have to pay Tyreek Hill. But it feels as if Kansas City's window, money-wise, like you're mentioning, John, is 2 more years, because then after the next 2 years, that's when that monster deal starts to kick in. Yeah. And it's hard. You're right. It's hard to pay a quarterback. Ask Green Bay. All these teams that pay their quarterbacks big money. It's really hard to do.
You have to cut somewhere. And so you start looking at Kansas City. Chris Jones, is he going to get a long-term deal?
Yeah.
You're already paying Matthew a bunch of money. You're already paying Frank Clark, the former Seahawk, a bunch of money. You're paying Tyreek Hill a bunch of money. All of a sudden, where do the cuts come from? Well, if you're Kansas City, it's not going to come along the offensive line because you got to protect them. Now, maybe it's going to come within the weapons, because maybe you can't give all those guys money, and you say, look, if I'm giving Patrick Mahomes $50 million, he better make my receivers really good. Colts did it with Manning. The Patriots, outside of, they already had Gronk and they extended him, but, Randy Moss 1 time, but it was guys like Deion Branch, throw subject, Troy Brown. And it was guys like that, Julian Edelman, where you said, okay, these guys are good, not great, and Brady's got to make them better. Name the receivers other than Marvin Harrison that Manning ever had. They kind of just come and go, and that's probably eventually what Kansas City's going to have to do. You can't keep everybody. So you tell the guy, okay, we'll protect you, but you're going to have to make these receivers better. And then defensively, Kansas City was good enough last year, but you can't give Frank Clark, over $100 million. You can't now give, Chris Jones $100 million. You're already paying Tyrann Mathieu. It's good. At some point it catches up, but in no way, shape, or form am I saying that you don't sign this. If this guy's going to sign me for 12 years, the deal's going to look like a bargain in 3 or 4 years.
Oh,
the numbers just keep going up.
And you said it right. He's got the it factor, and he's got the likability. He transcends a lot of different things. Just a thought real quick. I don't know if you saw the thing today. J.C. Treader, the NFLPA president, he's upset. I always have to – I think we tread lightly with the COVID and, player concerns over safety. At the same time, this has a distinct baseball feel to it, and I think the deal is the NFL players, even if they don't play this year, will still get paid. And so, boy, they've got some major leverage in that regard. And it feels as if the NFL, much like MLB, is going to go down a path of some hand wringing and some back and forth. And it's going to be an interesting few weeks before they potentially start training camp at the end of the month.
Well, I want to be really positive because I'm sick of the negative, and I think fans are sick of the negative, and they're sick of talking about, billionaires and millionaires fighting over dimes when we're all trying to just make ends meet. But as far as the NFL, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I just can't see it. I can see the NBA finishing up in a bubble. I can see the NHL finishing up in a bubble. The MLS already had FC Dallas pull out. They're in a bubble.
Yeah.
We have Sean Doolittle's. I would advise everybody to go look. Sean Doolittle is a reliever. Used to play BAs, and he said the smartest thing to come out of Washington D.C. in forever, which was basically he had a term that he said, look, sports are the product of a functioning society. Sports is dessert. Sports is what you get when you eat your Brussels sprouts or beets. That's what sports is. And we have in no way, shape, or form gotten to the point where we deserve dessert. The numbers are going huge. They're going up. But we have what he called virus fatigue. We figure that we've been doing this for 3 or 4 months. We're done. We're not done. The weather's nice. All these different things are going on. We've done what we're supposed to do. We haven't. We flattened it once. We have to do it again. And what's going on here, like in baseball yesterday, the A's, Astros, and Angels had delayed results. Toronto couldn't practice. Washington couldn't do their workouts because they can't figure this thing out. And as Chris Bryant of the Cubs said yesterday, this is supposed to be the easy part. What happens when we start getting on airplanes and we interact with other people? Of course it's going to happen, and we're going to get more positive cases. So to go back to the NFL, now you're talking about a sport where you can't social distance at all. And first of all, I read this. I think Tom Pelissaro said this morning. Why are you going to have any preseason games?
Right.
Like nobody likes them. You just work out. You do the practices. You don't want to be traveling right now. Preseason games don't matter. So 2 are gone. All 4 should be gone.
Right.
Don't do anything you don't have to do.
Right.
First and foremost. I would love football to make it, and I hope it does. But man, is it tough to see.
I've been as optimistic and trying to be as positive as possible, and I'm kind of the same. I feel the same way. And I think the preseason is just a needless exercise. I mean, you need to take the month and a half to figure out if you can do it, and do it for real, not do it for fake, not do it for the fringe guys on the roster. That's what I think people tend to forget sometimes. I think people are smarter than this, but every practice is taped. Every walkthrough is taped. They tape those things. They analyze them. Okay, footwork. Okay, so that offensive lineman, and it's like, yeah, they know. Every coach will tell you they know going in. Okay, we've got 90 guys. Okay, we have 53 roster spots. I know who 49 of those 53 guys are, and I know who, the 20 possibilities to make the practice squad if they clear the roster is. They know going in. You're going for depth and practice and reps, and I'm with you. I just think it feels like we could be going down because it's pretty simple. The NFL can just counter with, okay, you know what, right? No preseason, let's go. And then, because that puts it back on the players at that point. And then, because you're right, nobody wants to hear the billionaires and millionaires bickering along the way. We're all kind of done with that. All right, we're probably done as well. We got a million things we leave on the table. That's fine. That's it, buddy.
All right.
That's like 18 and a half quality minutes of radio that you can't get anywhere else. Yeah.
You have a good July 4th. I see you have a flag flying in the background, which is beautiful.
Oh, that's on television, buddy. That's on the news. It's on the news. It's the news. I have to watch our city council days. They're up to no good once again in Seattle. So, hey, by the way, they are. They're going to tax the biggest company in the city of Seattle right out of business. So if anybody can take down Amazon, it's the folks on the Seattle City Council. You know who the model franchise is for baseball and testing right now and getting on the field? It's your Seattle Mariners. I mean, they did it flawlessly.
Is that right?
Well, they did it flawlessly. They got everybody there on July 1st, did the testing. By July 3rd, they're there. Hasn't been an issue. Just cruising right along. I mean, who would ever think you'd say model franchise and Mariners in the same sentence? But that's what they are.
By the way, we're going to see you a lot. The A's and the Mariners obviously go at it in the AL West, but home and home with the Giants and the Mariners. Again, not that we'll be able to be there, but a bit of a rivalry. There's going to be a lot of Bay Area versus
It's far more of a
Seattle.
rivalry with the Bay Area than it is with our noted NL West rivals.
Yeah, but
the
maybe
San Diego Padres.
Maybe
the
we
San
could
Diego
do
Padres.
something.
Yeah, we should do something. We'll have some fun with it. It's better than our San Diego
All right.
Padres Peoria rivalry. So, all right, you have a great week. I'll talk to you next week, man.
All right, see you. Thanks.